Good morning. Now, the story I'd like to talk about today is the story of Zacchaeus. And well, it's got Jesus was just passing through Jericho, just passing through. So, he hadn't planned to stop for the night or anything like that, because obviously there's not too much to stop for in Jericho. Now, I'm sure that Jericho had its issues, just like any other town of the day. It would have had its fair share of poverty, injustice, and people that needed healing. Luke's Gospel makes a point of saying that Jesus was just passing through. Nothing to see here. Let's just keep moving on. The people of the town obviously had something to see, because they all crowded along the road trying to get a glimpse of this man called Jesus. But he was just passing through. Along came Zacchaeus, who decided to get in on the action and check him out. Zacchaeus was short, probably a little bit overweight because he was rich. So there was no way that he could see through the crowd. He was also a tax collector by trade, so he wasn't very well liked. And he was probably a bit dodgy, because that's how you get rich, from tax collecting. So there was no way anyone was going to let him go through the crowd for a front row seat. See, but Zacchaeus was not a man who was going to give up too easily either. He was probably used to getting his way and what he wanted, so he ran up the road a bit further, climbed a tree so he could get a good look at Jesus as he was passing through. Now this is where it gets interesting, because when Jesus walked as far as the tree, he stopped, looked up the tree, spotted Zacchaeus, and called him by his name, like they were old mates. Zacchaeus, he climbed out of the tree, probably slightly embarrassed, since it was not a good look for distinguished rich people to be climbing trees. Jesus then tells Zacchaeus that he was coming to his place for dinner, probably with all his followers, and Zacchaeus welcomed him with open arms. The people, though, of Jericho were a bit put out by all this attention shown to Zacchaeus, so they lashed out, calling him a sinner. The people of Jericho thought they were better than this dodgy sinner who stole all their money. How could Jesus even consider going to this dipstick's house? Something has happened to Zacchaeus now that he has been met by Jesus, though. All of a sudden, being rich is not so important anymore, not as it once was. And he had developed an interest in helping the poor by giving them half of everything he owned. Not sure what to do with half a camel, but the point was made that Zacchaeus no longer had an attachment to his possessions and was glad to start giving them away to help the poor. So no longer did he value all he owned as he once did. He actually wanted to help those less fortunate than himself. Knowing Jesus gave Zacchaeus a social conscience that was to give him a whole new outlook on life. Zacchaeus all of a sudden opened his eyes to see the world in a completely different and amazing way. He even wanted to make things right with anyone that he'd ripped off before. Money and possessions no longer meant what they once did. Now people mattered. Zacchaeus has now shifted his focus from himself and his own needs to others and their needs. This is the transformation that Jesus has in people. To me, it's interesting that out of all the people in Jericho, only Zacchaeus was chosen. And he was the last one that anyone else expected. Since Jesus chose Zacchaeus that day, I believe there is hope for us all. And all we have to do is look for Jesus. Climb a tree. Hold up your hand. Do a somersault. Do whatever it takes to find him. And Jesus will know. He already knows our name. And he already knows who's looking. When he stops and sees us, we will also hear those words from Luke 19, verse 9. Today, salvation has come to this house, because this man or woman too is a son or daughter of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and to save the lost. If our focus is on our possessions and our money, then we're lost. When we are transformed by Jesus, then our focus is on what we can do for others. This is what the kingdom of God looks like. A people transformed to help and to love others. Thank you for listening to me today. Have a great week.